Yeah, so last time we talked about black magic and spell. So, uh, especially in this country and in this modern age, probably not many people believe in that, right?
Yeah, I don't think very many people do.
Mhm.
In the US, probably. Around the world, probably more people.
Mhm. Mm. Uh, and like you mentioned, this is because of uh, the people in Christian background. They may not believe in that kind of things, or because people focus more on material life. What do you think?
Yeah, it's probably it's variable between Christians because there are certainly some groups of Christianity that believe in demonic possession,
Mm.
and I think they believe in like people can worship Satan or gain some sort of power through trying to work with like Satan and his demons.
Mm.
I know the Catholic Church has exorcists.
Mm.
And I think I mentioned before on a call, one of the psychiatrists that I rotated with in med school, she had actually prescribed exorcism before to patients.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Did
yeah.
the patient accept that?
Well, they were like kind of out of their minds.
Really?
Yeah, as I heard their family accepted it. And as I recall, she said it helped.
Really?
Like, yeah, I wasn't, it was years ago when she told me about this, so I don't remember it all clearly. She definitely prescribed it. It may or may not have helped.
And how about the idea of some people were possessed by ghosts?
Oh, ghosts instead of demons.
Mm. In Buddhist view, whether ghost demon is the same.
Oh, then yeah, that's what the exorcism would be for.
Okay.
Would be the a demonic possession.
Mhm. So you think up to now, is it common belief or is still rare to have this type of phenomena is happening?
Most people I know probably never think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think most people in kind of in American society never have any reason to contemplate that.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. Let's go back to our sutra then. Yeah. So let me read first, okay? And you can read later. So we talk about, uh, let's see here. Okay. So yeah, we talk about this process, right? So Ananda was, let's say, process, right, by Matagi, uh, Kapila magic. That's why he almost lost his pure conduct. But the Buddha admit the light from his talk. Uh, and the Buddha then sent that transcendental mantra to Maisuri, so that Maisuri would rescue uh, Ananda. So you see, is it odd here? Instead of sending the mantra directly, spiritually to Ananda, but the Buddha used, I mean, that, yeah, he he spoke this mantra and ordered Mansur to bring. Is that odd? What do you think?
We talked about this last time,
Mm-hmm.
and just how discussed how Manjushri being the embodiment of wisdom, and that wisdom is the means by which we can overcome these sorts of problems. in addition to wisdom, it also, in this case, is clearly the grace of the Buddha,
Yeah.
in the sense of that it's the power of the Buddha, but applied, delivered with wisdom, in some sense, or through wisdom.
Yeah. So for the non-Buddhists or even the Buddhists that may not know much about the deeper profound meanings of the sutra, they may think, oh, the Buddha used some sort of sacred power, right? And send this type of mantra to another great Bodhisattva to rescue Ananda. But actually, the Buddha wisdom provided teaching to Ananda. That's why he could wake up. This is in simple way, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's the next
So,
one. Yes.
Tay, I've wondered this repeatedly about Manjushri. Like, Manjushri, was he actually like a being in a physical body that everybody could see? Okay, I didn't think so. I didn't think he was. Yeah,
No.
because
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So that's why Mahayana teaching is about. We have all kind of lofty teaching. We have all kind of great Bodhisattva. But basic thing is that they are the embodiments of certain virtues. Namanjui, he represents wisdom. Uh, Wangam, she represents compassion. And the universal worthy Bodhisattva, you know, right? And represent the conduct and so forth.
Yes, I've heard the name before. I don't know any. I don't know any stories about Universal Worthy that I can recall, but I've definitely heard the name multiple times.
10 vows, the one that make up 10 vows, remember? You don't remember? We studied about that, you know.
Not Earth Store Bodhisattva.
No, not
Separate than Earth Store, Universal Worthy. No, I don't.
Oh, you don't know that? Let me type to you. You don't know that Bodhisattva? Yeah. Universal Bodhisattva. 10 vows. Oh, this one, I think you recognize, right?
Samantabhadra, yes, yes.
This 10 vows here.
Okay.
So again, in Mahayana traditions, we have all kind of Bodhisattva who represent all kind of virtual conducts or vows, not the actual one. That's why it's not easy for people to understand, especially if they were rejected by the Rabda Buddhist people. They just believe in one great Bodhisattva, Maitreya Buddhist. No, sorry, Maitreya Bodhisattva, the one that would be the future Buddha. That's all.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's what happened. Let's see here. Okay. But have you read my grandmaster's story, Suyun story?
Which one?
My grandmaster.
The whole autobiography? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He remember he did 3-step 1 bow.
I remember that practice. I don't remember anything around that story, if there were any events around it, but I do kind of vaguely remember that being in there.
Yeah. So he did 3-step 1 bows for I think almost 3 years from Ningpo that I've been there, opposite place of the Shanghai River. In one bank is Shanghai, another one is Ningbo. I was there. So he did made 3 step one bow from Ningbo to the Five Peak Mountain, where they believe Sri Bodhisattva resides there. So on the way uh, of bowing, he encountered a beggar with, who has a similar names, similar last name, but different first name. Then the divine Sri Bodhisattva. So in Chinese, it's called Wen Shu. Wen is in here, Shu is in, yeah, Wen Shu, that's the name. But that baker has the name Wen Si or some sort of that. But later on, he recognized that great Bodhisattva, taught and rescued him on the way, at least twice. So again, even in our Vietnamese community here in the United States, or even in Louisville, many people believe in Quang Am, and even they could not see that Bodhisattva in person, but they still have that kind of strong belief because whenever they have some kind of prayer, they got some response from her. That's how it works. That's why how they have so strong faith in Quang Nam Bodhisattva than other Bodhisattva. Even they may not have any kind of encounter, direct encounter with them. But some of them they have some kind of dreams about those Bodhisattva. But still, that's what Mahayana Buddhism is about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why for the non-Buddhists, or especially the Westerner that may not know much about Buddhism, it's better for me to step away from that type of transcendental figures like Quang and so forth. But uh, whenever we have the Quang celebration, I invite my students to come so that they can understand why we have this type of belief.
Mm-hmm.
But it's embodiment of compassion, whether it's a true party or not, whether we see that person, that Bodhisattva in person or not, it's not important than the teaching by itself. Yeah, okay, so let's just move on. This one here, meditative study of all voice. When Ananda saw the Buddha, he prostrated himself at his feet, weeping bitterly and saying that since the time without beginning, though he had heard much about Dharma, he still could not acquire transcendental power of the Tao. Mm. Earnestly, he asked the Buddha to teach the preliminary experience in practice of samatha, samapati, and dhyana, which led to the enlightenment of all Buddhas in the generation. Let me finish on. There was also present great number of bodhisattvas as countless as Saint Grains in the Gens and great Arhat and Paitra Buddhas who have come wishing to her about the Dharma. They waited silently and reverently for the holy teaching. Again, because of this type of story incident. And so when Ananda asked, the Buddha provided teaching. Even he heard so many type of Dharma, but he still not acquire the transcendental Tao. Tao, you know Tao, right?
Yeah, this is the first time I think I've heard the term Tao used in a Buddhist sutra.
Uh, Here, let's see here who translate this one. Let's see. Who is that? 26.
Is-
Let's see here. Oh, okay, here. Lu Kuan Yu, Jack Lu. So the reason why I pick up his translation because somehow he he was not great translator, but he stick with the original terms instead of elaborate those terminology. So in Chinese term, yes, it's called Tao. Uh, uh, let me put this way. After Buddhism spread to China in the 4th or 5th century, they adapt a lot of Taoist terminology. And that's why it's nothing strong, nothing strange that in Chinese, they still have this type of Taoist, or even Confucian terminology. And we know Taoist means the way. You know, right? Taoist means the way.
Yeah, yeah. The idea of the Tao is kind of like, it's kind of indescribable, but yeah, it's a way that is kind of like without effort. In some sense, it's like sometimes described as the water course way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, so again, for Ananda, he was foremost in learning, right, and memorization of Buddha teaching. You heard about that, right?
yes, he had like an astounding memory. So
Yeah,
he could like, he's the one who taught when any of the other Buddha's disciples wanted, like, if they missed a teaching or if they wanted to like memorize a sutra or something, he was the one who would help them.
yeah, and also he's the one that designed all the sutra after Buddha passed away for 3 months during the first Buddhist council. So he led the other monk to recite Buddha teaching again orally. 3 months after Buddha attained Nirvana, that's mean passing away. But again, he said that he had heard so much about Dharma, but he still could not acquire, could not understand, could not attain any kind of transcendental power. So this one speak out the way that for the knowledgeable person, the people, they may not have um, transcendental knowledge or skill, right? Even they can learn all kind of sutra. And of course, for me, I have met so many Buddhist scholars, and it's not easy for them to understand deeply about Buddha teaching in practical sense. Yes, in theories, in the academic field, in the scholarship field, they do wonderful job, but in a practical uh, sense, probably not much. What do you think? Is that problematic, or is that what do you think?
Well, studying the teachings from a like a scholarly approach, not bad, because it would definitely plant seeds.
Hmm.
There, it's better than a lot of things that someone could be doing. um but even better would be studying it and then practicing it in daily life, so to help develop that practical sense of how it works. um it does seem like someone who's stronger in like their ability to use their intellect. It may be tempting to compensate for not practicing by studying more, by understanding more. But ideally, I think we combine those two together, like the wings of a bird, where we balance our study with practice and application to try to bring those teachings to life so that they're meaningful.
But what happened if we just focus on learning and study only without practicing?
Yeah, I mean that's right. I think there's been there. I think the Buddha gave a lot of analogies about that. Like, wouldn't it be kind of like like reading descriptions of food but not eating it?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of idea. Or like looking at pictures of a country you want to travel to but never traveling there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reading the map, right? Even to know every corner of the world, or even when we watch some video clips about Africa, Europe, and so forth. Yes, we have a sense of those country or locations were about. But if we never step into that type of location, right, we will not feel much. Even nowadays, we have video clips not talking about in the past. We can have the map, direction, and so forth. That's why it's so important that we have to have some kind of practical sense. And that's what happened to Ananda here. And they say that whichever thing Buddha said, he remember all. It's like transferring a cup of water from one cup to another without losing any drop of water. But here he got stuck. He was possessed. He fell into the spell of this girl. So it's so obvious that if we learn so much but without practicing anything, it's not useless, but somehow uh, not much beneficial. Mm, in that sense here.
And Ananda, though, he practiced as well, though, right? He would meditate and he kept the precepts and
When in one sense, yes, yeah, he did, but mainly he remembered the Buddha teaching. He focused on memorizing the Buddha teaching, then the practice. That's what happened to him. And of course, we don't blame on him. We don't look down upon him. In every circumstances, especially in this type of Mahaya Buddhist Sutra, we see that he shows some kind of weakness so that the Buddha could utilize this type of incident to teach us the great teaching. And he is an embodiment of a great Bodhisattva. Without showing this type of weakness, we would not know about this type of sutra. So that's why in some type of uh, Mahaya Buddha Sutra, it's mentioned that all of the Buddha great disciple were great Bodhisattva. And I believe that. Because he attained enlightenment, he become Buddha. That will be the one that work close to him will be a great Bodhisattva. So that's why in Mahayana Buddhist tradition, you see that all Buddha great disciple are great Bodhisattva in one way and others. So they just manifest their weakness so that the Buddha could utilize that incident to teach us the great teaching. That's all. And that's just one way. Another way is that it's a big lesson for us that if we study without putting any kind of practice, may not much would not bring much benefits. We can get stuck with all kind of attachment to our knowledge, even our Buddhist knowledge. When we deal with all kind of situation we get stuck. We couldn't control our emotion. That's what lesson is about. Mm, okay. Yeah. And again, for this type of sutra, we know, right? This is the red art, the bodhisattva, and they are invisible. Most of them, they are invisible. We cannot see them. Only Arhat and Patriarch Buddha could see them. The one that have that type of uh, awakening level could recognize them. So we can go, we can move. Mm.
Start.
Yes.
So the wiping out of the five, wiping out of the five aggregates and eight consciousnesses to expose the unreality of ego. Probing into the false mind to wipe out the first two aggregates and first five consciousnesses. The Buddha said to Ananda, "You and I are close relatives. Tell me what you saw in the assembly when you made up your mind to give up all worldly feelings of affection and love to follow me." Ananda replied, "I saw the 32 excellent characteristics and the shining crystal-like form of the Buddha's body. I thought that all this could not be the result of desire and love. For desire creates foul and fetid impurities like pus and blood, which mingle and cannot produce the wondrous brightness of his golden-hued body, in admiration of which I shaved my head to follow him."
Mm.
Yes, so, I mean, Ananda's response shows that his focus is predominantly on the appearance of the Buddha. He didn't mention like the Buddha's wisdom or the Buddha's compassion, but he mentioned the appearance.
Mm.
And then and he deduced that, well, you know, when he's saying giving up feelings of affection and love, you know, I'm assuming like familial and relationship, to no longer hold those sort of those attachments, and that he felt that it was the right thing to do because the Buddha's form, he concluded, wasn't the result of those sorts of feelings, because those sorts of feelings create, you know, substances that aren't pure, like pus and blood, which I'm assuming he means that they lead to, you know, conceiving a child, and that a child isn't made of light, or isn't shining, isn't, you know, like that, but filled with these things you could relatively refer to as impure, like pus and blood.
Mm. Mm. So basically, the Buddha asked him the reason why he became a monk, right?
Yeah.
And he replied that I admire your wholesome features physically. That's why I follow you. But he mentioned further that he recognized this type of uh, wholesome body would not come from the same body as us with the pulse and the blood, but it comes from uh, the Buddha practice. Right. This is like because he mentioned that he saw 32 excellent characteristics and the shine crystal-like form of the Buddha body. He liked it from, but you know, this type of body was didn't come from. This kind of body is quite different from the normal uh, body that have pulse and blood on common people nowadays. And he recognized this kind of Buddha body of 32 excellent characteristics come from the Buddha practice. not like the normal people. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, so is he referring to something he sees beyond the Buddha's physical body,
No.
or the his physical body itself is also, like he's shining crystal-like form?
Hmm.
Like, is he see that's he's seeing that shining crystal-like form just in his physical body, or it's like he sees an emanating light, or sees something around his body, or you know superimposed on it?
You know, Westman 32 is special mark of the Buddha, right?
I don't have them all memorized. I know some of them,
Hmm.
like the wheels on I think the palms of the hand and the soles of the feet,
Hmm.
the tuft of hair between the eyebrows. I think there's the mound on the top of the head.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of, there's 32 like that in different regions of the body.
Mhm. So again, Ananda, he looked at this wholesome physical body of the Buddha that has 32 essence characteristics alone. That's why he liked to follow the Buddha. And he recognized that the Buddha is an extraordinary person, not like a common person, that impure like us. And of course, the Buddha may ask him later on in the back there too. So basically, he just followed the Buddha because he admired the Buddha physical body. That's all. Even it's different from normal people. You know, it's just like us, especially the young people. They admire some celebrities, some singers, some artists. So did Ananda. He just admired the Buddha who has this kind of special characteristics. That's all. That's why he focused on the form first.
And fortunately, uh, like, as far as a form to admire, he kind of chose the ultimate form to admire.
Yeah.
Because in general, admiration of form could be a cause for problems, for bondage, for issues. But this would be like a form that one admired that led to, freedom and wisdom.
Yes. Uh, yes. So uh, it's work in everywhere, right? Even let's say yeah, let's say this for the youth, they love some celebrities, how they sing, how they act out, and so forth. That's why they follow them. But yeah, of course, for Ananda, yes, he follow Buddha's based on the Buddha's special characteristics. But eventually, right before the Buddha attained Nirvana, doesn't pass away, the Buddha assured to Ananda that sooner or later you will attain enlightenment. Yeah, he did later on. And in every circumstances, sometimes uh, people come to know each other to work mm, together. Probably not because of the job, but because they like each other physically, right? I'm not talking about the attachment between male and female, but in the physical form, um, people like each other in that way. And here, in this passage, you mentioned that yes, Ananda at first he admired the Buddha having this type of excellent characteristics. That's why he follow. That's why he got wrong. That's why. That's why no matter what type of sutra he memorized, he still gets stuck. He still tempted or controlled by the spell because he attached to the forms. That's why at the beginning, did you understand that the setting of the sutra is that yes, because you attach to the form, that's why you get stuck there. That's why eventually the Buddha asked him about the mind, and he could not find, he could not define the mind. And later on, the Buddha will point out to him that as long as you attach to the form, no way for you to recognize who you are. There's no way for you to attain enlightenment. You have to let go of your attachment. As you see the setting there, so the setting is like our ordinary people. We so attached to the form. That's why step by step we would lead him, Ananda, to recognize his own mind, to recognize his own pure nature. And that's work for most of us. That's the setting there.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, I do have a question about the title about samatha, and then down here, samatha is the meditative study of all as void.
Yeah.
We talked about samatha in the past, and we kind of like talked about it with vipassana as well. And in samatha, like we can choose an object that we don't think about, but we just return our focus to it. Right? And we just maintain focus upon that object, and not engage and just any thinking we have, we just return to that object. And I could see how those wouldn't be contradictory. But am I recalling that right about samatha, that we discussed it in that sort of light?
Yeah, samatha has been concentration, mindfulness, and then the right concentration. Yeah.
So okay, so but it also is like the meditation on like all being void. So by like not being moved by thinking or feelings, but just returning to our focus, we're like learning to treat phenomena or see phenomena as like devoid of inherent meaning, that we can simply let them happen but still return to the focus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'd made a brief YouTube video just describing those two, and someone gave her like a really nasty comment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like, you don't know what the F you're talking about.
Okay.
I was like, oh gosh, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Talk in simple ways. Samatha has been right concentration. That's all.
You said the F word?
Yeah, someone said that.
How did you type the F word?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just deleted it because
okay.
it didn't seem very Buddhist of him. But
yeah.
Maybe because he's on the devil's side.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had Wicked in his screen name, so I think he was just trying to mess with me.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what samatha is about. So as much as we focus our mind, as much as we concentrate our mind on one subject, right? Object. So we would not have any kind of attachment to other things. We would immerse ourselves with that object. When we focus on our breath, and if we really uh, concentrate on that type of breathing patterns, and we let go of the attachment itself. That's what is talked about the voice or the material here. And Samapati is the method of all unreal transitory or temporal. Yeah, this This is the basic terms that they translate directly from Chinese to English. I think the other translator, if they are scholar, they may translate in different way. All right, so mm, the Buddha say, Ananda, sorry, that's right. The Buddha say, Ananda, and all of you should know that living beings in the time without beginnings have been subject continuously to birth and death because they do not know the permanent true mind, whose substance is by nature pure and bright. They have relied on false thinking, which is not reality, so that the wheel of samsara turns. If you wish to study the inspired supreme body to realize this bright nature, you should answer my question straightforwardly. Our Buddha's introduction through the same path to escape from birth and death because of this their straightforward mind. With the same straightforwardness of mind and speech from start to finish without a trace of crookedness. So the Buddha mentioned that every one of us, right, in the time of business, we devote this type of cycle of birth and death because we don't recognize the permanent true self, true mind there. And this is pure. Uh, Now here, let me stop and focus on this. If you read the Pali text, I mean the Buddhist teaching from the Pali canyons, you would not encounter this kind of teaching explicitly. You know why, William?
They don't have a concept of like the Buddha mind or the Buddha
Yes.
nature or the true mind.
Yes.
It's kind of it's implied, but it's never explicitly mentioned.
Yes. That's why. That's why. Yeah, for the beginners, when they talk about nirvana or the ownership of especially nirvana state of mind, yeah, they could explain in lofty way. Okay, nirvana is the state of mind that they get out the birth cycle. Actually, I have the class with my student this afternoon and ask them what's the meaning of nirvana. They say, yes, that's correct. Nirvana just means the state of mind that we escape from birth and death, from the cycle of birth and death. But asking them, I asked them about the practical sense. How could we understand that type of state of mind? Not easy in practical sense. So, how about you? How could you explain nirvana in practical sense?
Well, I think all of the things which we're concerned about,
Yeah.
The things we're concerned about for the past, from the past or the future, the things that we want that we're afraid we won't have, or that we have that we're afraid we're going to lose, the things that we're trying to get, just kind of all of these different strains and like mental fluctuations that when those are absent, it's like, perhaps it's like those are like, we use water as the analogy, it's a popular analogy, like frozen water. And when those are absent, when that water becomes fluid and everything is unified, when it's melted, everything is unified, everything's one, there's no sense of missing anything anymore. So there's no sense of like needing to get anything. There's not a sense of like there being a self that can somehow be made better or made less. So we don't have any fear of loss or desire for gain. And so then all of the stress that goes along with those maintaining those stories and seeking after something is gone. And so I think in the release of all of that stress, that there is just a tremendous catharsis of kind of, for probably, you know, a period of time. I don't think it would last forever, and that's why it's a temporary state. I heard someone once say, like, bliss is like farting, where there's a temporary relief from a buildup of gas, but like it's temporary. So I think perhaps that's why the bliss of nirvana eventually transforms into the desire, like, of compassion, the desire to liberate living beings. Because after we've been released from our own strains for long enough and have really like fully, the mind in some way has really fully rejuvenated and oriented properly, it's completely unwound, then it seems like that's the natural state for compassion to really deeply be born really fully and deeply, because we're no longer concerned about ourselves. And it does kind of bring me to a question I commonly have about the teachings that, like, should everyone first achieve nirvana before setting out on the bodhisattva way? To me, the answer seems to be no, but I kind of, and a part of me, I kind of wonder why. Like, before achieving nirvana, are we like, we are, you know, are we as capable of developing the same degree of compassion? Or because, you know, or do just some people need to achieve that first in order to develop the compassion? And is it's just because they're like overly self-centered, or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, yeah, we will talk more about that. It's so important to recognize that, otherwise, sometimes we get lost too. Um, yeah, before we talk about that, let me go back here one more step. So here, it's easy for people to get lost when they were teaching about egolessness, detached from ego, the destruction of the self, right? So that's what in Buddhism we have to call either four seal or three seal. Or the first one is you need to recognize life is suffering. Second one is life impermanence. The third is um, life is empty. The last one is there's no real self, especially when we talk about real self. And when the non-Buddhists approach to us as who we are, then what we need to do practice, what we need to do meditation, what we need to go to work, what we need to have family, what we need to have our car and so forth. So who are we then? But when it comes to Buddhism, the Buddha try to, we can say, not denying, but try to uh, uh, what to call, try to uh, mm, let go of the idea of the self. So here, instead of talking about this the Atman, that's the non-self, the Buddha focus directly to you have to recognize your permanent true self, true mind, not true self, whose substance is by nature pure and bright. You see the opposite, two opposite things, right? One is that yes, there's no real self, right? That's one of the Dhamma seal. Another one here, that you need to recognize your permanent or true mind instead of true self. And of course, in Theravada tradition, they would not focus on that because they always focus on the non-self or egolessness idea. But in Mahayana tradition, it mentions about permanent true mind. And I think it's no conflict there. It's just a complement of explanation. As soon as we let go of attachment to the self, the Buddha say, remember the five aggregates, right? You follow the five aggregates, right? The form, the feeling, the perception, the formation, mental formation, and last one, consciousness. So Buddha said, this type of five aggregates are not our real self. That is the basic teaching in Mahayana and Theravada too. But in Mahayana, it go beyond. Yes, we in this type of what do you call egolessness or non-self idea, there is a permanent pure mind there that we know self, that we need to get back. It's there already. We don't need to fight it. We don't need to go out to fight it, but we need to recognize it's right there. That's why Sid Patriarch, right? Huay Nang, right? They say that wow, I'm so surprised that my true mind is there. My permanent true mind is there. That's in accord with the sutra. It's in accord with Mahayana Sutra, Mahayana teaching. You understand that, do you? Without these kind of comments, without the commentaries about the true mind, people will confuse. Why do we need to practice then? Everything is non-self. There's no real self then. Why do we need to practice then? Why we need to keep precept, where you need to be patient, we need to develop compassion and so forth. You understand what it's mean now, right, William?
Yeah, because someone might just say, well, if it's simply to like achieve nirvana, well, my life's already good. Like, I like life, and if there's no me anyways, why do I need to achieve nirvana?
Yeah, that's the point.
You can see that sort of thing, like, I'll just do whatever I want to do. It's fine.
Yeah. And the idea of egolessness is somehow, or non-self idea is somehow, it may be dangerous for some people. If they have a crooked mind, if they have a wrong views about that type of non-self, they say, I don't care. They can do anything else they want to. And plus on the top of that, to negate the self is to find the true mind in Mahayana tradition. That's not the level. Is that right, William? That's not a level, right? If we stay in this level, okay, there's no real self. If to get yourself, then so who are we then? And that's why Mahayana tradition, in Mahayana views, it live it up to the next level. Yes, there's no real self, but there's a true and permanent true mind there. That's pure and bright there. So that we can work, so that we can try to get back of it instead of negate everything. So in my view, without this type of idea, the permanent true mind idea, we get lost then. Is that right?
Yeah. And you mentioned, Huay Nang, and then the other like the other Zen masters who live from that nature, I think that's really helpful as well to reinforce it. Well, here there are people who have had this realization, some who are still alive now, and some who we know were legitimate and really did, and it reinforces that idea too, that there is this true nature, and that it's an appropriate conceptualization, that it doesn't hinder the attainment of it. That conceptualization, it actually helps to serve the attainment of it by having that sort of understanding.
And it solves all the puzzle. It solves all the problem. It solves all the doubt about why do you need to practice, why do you need to attain enlightenment, and after enlightenment, what we should do then. And let's come back to your question. After someone attains enlightenment or nirvana, is it easy for us to develop loving kindness and compassion after that or before that, right?
Yeah, should everybody ideally go through the Theravada first until they achieve, full arhatship, and then start the bodhisattva path? Or what's much more common in it's Mahayana schools is we start Mahayana from the beginning. We get the Theravada teachings as well, but we don't wait to start to our effort at becoming compassionate.
Yeah. This afternoon, I asked my student, let's say tomorrow they're supposed to have, let's say, math test. And before tonight, they done all kind of memorization, all kind of studying already. They know well, and they are ready to take a test tomorrow. But some of their friends, they get stuck. They don't understand the math material well. They could not understand or recognize the formulas and so forth. And so they're scared. And so their friend may approach to them. They say, well, I get stuck now. I don't understand what's going on with this kind of math problem and so forth. And tomorrow we're taking a test. So can you help me out? So I asked them. Most of them reply, yes. They can sacrifice their fun time, a break time before taking the test to help their friends. It's a similar way. You understand what am I about, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. That they're not just. That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Where the willingness to, for me, it seems to me the attainment of arhatship and nirvana seems more difficult than cultivating compassion.
Let me see here.
To me, it seems like the easier thing is I can understand the suffering of someone else, and I can cultivate the desire to alleviate their sufferings, and then I can take the steps that are. I'm not being unreasonable in my life with helping other people. I'm not, orienting my whole life. I'm not taking a week to just treat people who need it for free, or I'm not taking these really dramatic steps that may be, really helpful for people, but could really kind of potentially, I don't know, disrupt my ability to take care of my family or continue my life. So I'm kind of have a balance with it. But the idea of cultivating compassion seems very natural. Yeah. The idea of achieving arhatship seems like if I threw my whole self into it for my life, I don't know if I would even still attain it.
That's the whole idea. So that's why I think my example is so clear, right? It illustrates that willingness of people to help others before taking the test. So Yeah, like you say, probably developing compassion is the nature of human beings or all kind of beings, right? When we see the need there, when we see the suffering there, we just try to step out and it move in a natural way instead of being forced on ourselves that we need to be compassionate to other people. Because it's part of our pure nature there. And to come back to your question, you see that it may or may not take. We may or may not need to take a test. As long as we understand the material well, we can share with other people. Or while we walking on the path, let's say while we walking from Louisville to Lexington, we know the way. We have a map, we know the way. We have confidence, right? We can lead other people to, even we have not reached that destination yet. But we have confidence because we know this is the map that Buddha laid out for us already, and they have attained enlightenment or the art or the patriarch or our grandmaster master. They have attained already, so we have that confidence in them to walk on that path, even we have not reached that place yet. It makes sense now, William?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Tay.
This is not, yeah, it's not easy concept, but I think it's so important, right? So important for people to recognize that pure nature. And in generation that they say that you should recognize your pure nature first before you embark on the journey of meditation or practicing meditation in Zen tradition. You have to see, you have to recognize it. It's like we stand on the top of a mountain and look over the horizon that we see, oh, okay, the beach there, the ocean there. We see so, from afar, the beach over there, the ocean over there, and we see the wave of the ocean over there. And it's easy for us to move to that direction because for sure we know as much walk to that direction, we get to the beach, we get to that ocean. So that's why in Zen tradition, it advocates that you should recognize some part of your Buddha nature. And it's easy for us to practice if you recognize some of them. It makes sense now, right?
Yeah. I think of seeing the true nature as that initial in like Japanese Zen as like Kensho is that initial like the first glimpse of enlightenment of one who sees their nature. So and I never heard that before, that one shouldn't start, like the recommendation is not to start the practice of meditation till they have seen the true nature. But the means to see the true nature is generally like Zazen meditation.
Yeah.
So what? So it's like
complement each other.
So what?
So they complement each other.
Okay. So then so prior to seeing the true nature, it's not really meditation.
Like I just gave that analogy, like we stand on the top of the mountain and we see over the horizon, the beach over there, the ocean over there. That's been, we recognize, oh, we have that pure nature there. And the only thing we do is to do the walking right from that mountain to the beach, to do the practice, to enhance that type of recognition, awakening, that's all.
Okay. So then that initial recognition of the true nature in this setting is not necessarily like the same as what in Japanese Zen they would call Kensho. it's not that like that awakening. It's more of a more of a beginner
Yeah.
could have that sense of just like the mind undisturbed,
Yeah.
kind of. Okay.
Okay, that's great then. Wow, that's really good conversation. Let's just go to the core of the Buddha teaching here. As much as we understand a pure nature, you can say we solve at least 50% of the proposal, right?
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kay.
All right, let's stop here today, and we come back on next Tuesday. So again, 7:30, right?
7:30.
Okay.
Yes. I think I'm gonna put an alarm on my phone this
Okay.
time. I had it in my schedule, but now I'm gonna put an alarm.
Yeah, and I messed up the schedule too. I thought that's the